watching Tea Time. I'm Shaithi Narula. We're at JP Greens at Greater Noida. Now, the media and entertainment industry continues to up their game as digital innovation is now the buzzword in the media and entertainment industry. Discussing the paradigm of new media and how digital innovation is going to see a spurt in the next 5 years to come is the Group COO of Prime Focus, Vikas Rathee, on Tea Time with me.
On the show this week, we have Vikas Rathee, Group COO, Prime Focus.
The needs and desires of the common man in terms of consuming better media, cheaper media, and more expansive content, I think is only increasing.
In news, Sergio Garcia wins the Qatar Masters. And Jessica Korda wins Bahamas LPGA Classic.
What a phenomenal tee off, Vikas. Welcome to Tea Time.
Thank you. So nice to meet you, Shaithi. How are you today?
Likewise. Good. Good winter.
It is lovely in Delhi right around in January, right?
And you live back in Bombay.
I live back
What
in
is the
Bombay.
transition like coming from Bombay to a nice freezing winter in Delhi?
It's beautiful. I think it's refreshing. It's good to get some nice, crisp, clean air in your face in the morning. So, have a little bit of a haze out here. It's good to kind of get there. Hopefully the sun's going to come out soon and it's going to be beautiful.
Okay, so let's talk about your career. Now, congratulations on wearing the new Group COO hat at Prime Focus. You were at Suzlon Energy, then you made the transition. You were with Bank of America Merrill Lynch, you were with ABN AMRO, and now as the Group COO of Prime Focus. What made you get into the media and entertainment industry?
Well, media and technology has been part of my, lifeblood as a banker.
Right.
I have been a banker to some of the largest global media corporations, from
Absolutely.
Time Warner to Comcast to DirecTV, Liberty Media over the years as a banker in New York.
Right.
And so it's always been close to my heart. So I got an opportunity to help take a growing company to the next level in the media entertainment industry, not only in India, but from a global perspective. It's a global sector, it's a global industry, and I think the needs and desires of the common man in terms of consuming better media, cheaper media, and more expansive content, I think is only increasing.
Sure. On that note, it's time now for me to tee off.
Please. Oh, lovely shot.
Thank you so much. So talking about media now, 2012 was a tough year for the media industry in general. I mean, you saw businesses were obviously realigned, you saw value chains were realigned as well. A lot of unsettling times that 2012 brought forth in this industry. Do you see light at the end of the tunnel going forward?
2012 was tough for, I think, every industry.
Right, that's true.
You have the global economies coming out of recession.
Sure.
We in India have had a bit more of that effect over the last 12, 18 months,
Sure.
Political or otherwise.
Yeah.
The media industry, at the end of the day, also gets impacted by people's disposable income as to what they want to do, how they want to spend it.
Sure.
And so there's been a little bit of that hiccup. But if you ask me, it's been less impacted than almost every other industry we have in India.
Correct.
Consuming media as an entertainment kind of field for people back in India is very important. Everybody goes back home, watches television. They want to get away from the work life for a little bit. You go to theaters. Theaters are getting more digitized. You're seeing better content.
Sure.
It's not just content coming, from the international markets of the Hollywood, but Bollywood itself has done a tremendous amount of work over the last, several months. You've seen movies like Doom 3 and Krish 3, and so the content that's coming out and the quality that's coming out, I think is good. It's been appreciated by the consumer. And that's why you've seen the kind of success. So I think we got to get painted in that picture that media has been impacted as well. It's been a little less so than most other industries in India.
Now, you mentioned Krish, you mentioned Dhoom, you've mentioned some great work done by Bollywood as well. So talking about films now, you saw a great spurt of digitization of screens in India, and the film industry is doing well because of digital distribution. How far are we from seeing 100% digitization of cinema?
I think we're closer than we think. You know, if you go back a few years ago, the whole thing was, you know, it was a challenge for people to get telephony connections. You know, wireline telephony wasn't there. And there was always a question mark as to how soon would people have mobile phones and how soon would everybody have a mobile phone. Now we talk about how soon does everybody have 2 or 3 mobile phones, you know, smartphones and otherwise. So
there's an onslaught of smartphones now.
It is. And I think, you know, that's also what's spurring the media industry as well.
Absolutely.
So digitization of movie theaters is going to continue. I think it started off with the urban cities. It's moved on to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I think you'll continue to see that. It's not just a question of investment, because at the end of the day, digital interface allows for a faster, seamless, and cheaper distribution of media.
Absolutely.
So there are quite a few players getting into that.
Right.
It's a one-time investment which actually gets recouped very, very quickly. So I won't be surprised over the next few years you realize almost everything is digital out there, and the distribution is also digital. It saves costs, it saves time, which is very important in this industry.
Now, you know, FICCI and KPMG have come up with reports, and the average estimate, which is the compounded annual growth rate projection going forward until 2017, is of 15.2% by them. Is that in line with your estimates at Prime Focus as well?
If you look at the total media consumption, especially including what you're seeing on your, mobile devices and smartphones, with now 4G, expected to come into India, I think those numbers will be left far behind. I think we'll do better. New ways of monetization, new ways of exhibition. It's a lot of the content has value if you're seeing it real time.
Sure.
For example, sports or news, for example. You don't want to watch a cricket match which already is over.
Right.
You don't want to see a football game in the English Premier League when the score is already out. Same thing in news. It has value when you can see it real time. That's where a massive amount of explosion is also happening, and the monetization happening through mobile devices. So I think you'll see a lot more of that. The general entertainment also is going through that revolution, but they are, soaps and stuff which come at a specific time. Movies also get scheduled. For example, we did work in Gravity. It's kind of blown away people's expectations in terms of what a 3D and a VFX movie can do.
Sure.
This came out, 80% of their box office was in 3D theaters. So people have disposable income.
Right.
And frankly, what's happening is with the growth in the number of 3D as well as, I would say, digital screens and distribution, the price point that a consumer has to pay to experience a visually enhanced experience. And he goes there for 1.5 hours, 2 hours to get entertainment. He gets entertained way beyond what he was expecting. And the price points are coming down. So you'll see a lot more of that.
All right, interesting. On that note, it's a good time now for us to take a quick breather on Tea Time. Vikas Rathee, the Group CEO of Prime Focus, and I, Sheti Narula, we will be seeing you on the other side to discuss how content is king, but digital content is the super king.
Oh, lovely trip.
Thank you. So welcome back to Tea Time. We were in conversation with Vikas Rathee, who is the Group COO of Prime Focus, and we continue to discuss the media and entertainment industry in much more detail. Now, talking about regulation, what are the kind of regulatory changes that you would like to see come in the media and entertainment industry, apart from the obvious co-production treaties, rationalization of entertainment taxes, and incentivizing visual effects and animation education? Apart from these obvious ones, which are really the regulatory changes?
See, I think there are two pieces to it. One is when you go about film production
Sure.
and film kind of exhibition side of it. India can be a pretty good destination for even Hollywood producers to come
Sure.
and make movies here. Already you have a movement of production moving away from Hollywood to London to Vancouver, Fiji, New Zealand,
Yeah.
in terms of because these are the governments providing incentives for production. I think India has a very large production base already. So I think giving incentives so that we can have larger Hollywood studios also start looking at India
Right.
on the production side. That's one piece of it. I think that's a
Sure.
cost angle to it, and I
Sure.
think making our own production features more technically savvy. That's one part. Second, I think is, as you talked earlier, digitization, new devices, new opportunities, how the internet is basically creating an explosion of,
Sure.
of media. I think a little bit more clarity as the government moves towards when you have 4G and media being consumed over there, I
Right.
think clarity will be required in terms of, who's got the rights to that content, who gets paid, is it sharing, revenue sharing,
Sure.
who gets the cost. I think that's an important piece that needs to come through. I think there is path that's forward out there, led by the West as to how things are getting done. I think we need to adopt a little bit of that.
Right
At
now,
the
there is
same
a
time-
fair bit of ambiguity on that front, isn't
It is. There is a little bit of ambiguity. I think partly because we have to still get to that.
Absolutely. Do you feel that we're yet to see revenues coming in from digital content because there are obviously limitations to measuring systems? There are decline in on-deck revenues. There's so many hurdles in terms of revenue maximization from digital content. How far are we from actually maximizing the full potential of digital media monetarily?
So digital is going to continue to be an evolving space.
Sure.
I think in terms of monetization, you're seeing quite a bit of already.
Yeah.
Most of our content producers have their content now out on YouTube. You have it on iTunes,
Absolutely.
which we are helping facilitate, from a technological perspective. And they're getting monetization there. I think the clearest example I can give you, which is close to our hearts, cricket.
Sure.
You have starsports.com, where basically they're exhibiting live television, not just what you're seeing on the television show, but also beyond what's actually coming on TV, because you have rights for, say, 20 different games, or English
Sure.
Premier League. You're seeing
Sure.
3 games on TV,
Sure.
but you're seeing 9 or 10 on the web. It's a subscription service, Consumers go on, they pay 100 rupees, 300 rupees, 500 rupees, or take a season pass,
Sure.
right? And they're able to watch live games coming through. Like I said, there's certain pieces which are going to be more or early adopters to the monetization on the digital media side.
Yeah.
Sports being one, financial news being the other. So I think you're already seeing that in starsports.com. They're already taking, subscription fees, and I think that's only going to grow.
Okay.
Other people catching on to it.
Right.
So you'll see that.
Are overseas companies also realizing the potential of Indian digitization of media? Are they seeing a great potential in getting visual effects and animation at a lower price from India? And also, are these animation companies in India moving up the value chain somewhere?
I think partly the way I would like to respond to your question is, I think at the end of the day, visual effects or animation is more about quality and credibility and less about price.
Sure.
For example, when we as Prime Focus World, which is our subsidiary which does most
Sure.
of the VFX and 3D work, when we are
Sure.
pitching to the Hollywood studios, it's not about, I can do it cheaper.
Right.
It's
right.
about, I can do it better,
Okay.
and I can do it faster, and I can do it at scale. What our global sourcing or world sourcing model allows us, we have a massive amount of infrastructure in India. We've got a great technical talent pool.
Sure.
I think the opportunity that we need to give is by using that scale, create product which has the same quality,
Got
but
it.
deliver it faster. And I think, with scale, efficiencies will come.
Sure.
But we're definitely not pitching out there saying we'll do it cheaper.
Got it. So digitization is the clear future. With that, let's take a break here on Tea Time. We will see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're in conversation with Vikas Rathee, who is the group CEO, rather, of Prime Focus. And we were discussing about digitization. Now, what is really the reason behind Indian animation films showing lackluster performance compared to international peers?
It's a good question. I think we haven't had that many animation movies
Sure.
actually coming out of India. I think it's the question of justification of the of the expenses. More, I think, if you ask me, it's about the cultural, or the cultural expectations of the viewer. At the end of the day, we as Indians have been brought up on drama, or kind of action.
Sure.
You don't see a song and dance routine in Hollywood movies.
Of course.
So I think animation is still an upcoming genre from an Indian, kind of consumer perspective. So I think it's a question of viewers' expectations and investment that goes into it. I think you will get to a point where you see a lot more animation coming out from the film perspective.
Sure.
You're already seeing it on television. Chhota Bheem, and you have other kind of players coming out on television. They're getting massive acceptance by by the younger kids. Not only younger kids, slightly older parents are getting into it. Chhota Bheem, I will confess, I've watched it sometimes as well. So I think it's a gradual progression. So I think it's coming out on television a lot more, animated and similar kind of content being produced for television first. And I think you'll see that coming on the film side.
I mean, staying with animation and visual effects, do you see a need for consolidation in the Indian animation and visual effects market? Because you see a large number of players doing a lot of low-end work. So is there, I mean, it's a fragmented market. Does it really require consolidation at this point of time?
I think we kind of view it as a global market.
Sure.
And I think that's how players both in India and abroad need to look at it. As of now, following a model wherein you become a subcontractor to a large Hollywood VFX or a London-based VFX provider is what quite a few people are doing.
Sure.
You make good money.
Sure.
But then you always depend on somebody else giving you the work.
Right.
Where we chose a totally different path. We had our promoter, Namit Malhotra, move lock, stock, barrel to LA, to basically be able to talk to the Hollywood studios, in front of them as opposed to through a video conferencing facility. And I think that has the impact. So we're taking work for ourselves. We're doing it ourselves. We have no lack of talent in India. We've proven it across, different kind of industries, including IT. Visual effects, VFX, is an IT-based solution.
Right.
We are ahead of most countries as opposed to behind.
Sure.
And I think we need to be able to go with a business model, which kind of professes that capability that we have. We're doing that at Prime Focus Worlds. Others are doing that. There will be consolidation. I think you'll see more consolidation on a global perspective.
Got it.
And I think Indian players will be part of it.
Come, let's finish our game on that note. Let's talk a little about your golfing escapades. How much of golf have you played all over the world while globetrotting across US and wherever you've been?
So golf has been a passion for me ever since I was, I would say, a teenager. I think I picked up golf when I was about 12, 13. Father was in the army. You had access to a golf course in India, which is kind of how I picked it up.
Sure.
I have continued playing ever since then. So, whatever. 20, 25 plus years since then. I've played all over the world, in the US, in India, all over Asia. So I think the good thing about golf is it doesn't matter where you're playing it, you enjoy it. Yeah,
but being an army kid, I'm sure you play many other sports apart from golf as well. Which are the other ones that you enjoy?
I play cricket, I play squash. I play squash till, even now. I think that's primarily if you ask me for exercise because you only get so much opportunity to go hit the gym.
Sure.
Golf is what I kind of use to kind of, recharge my batteries, think through what's really happening in my life at that point in time and what I'm going to be doing the next day. And you have 3.5, 4 hours on the course. It makes you think a lot of different things.
Do you find a lot of synergy between the boardroom and, of course, the golf course when you're playing?
Massive.
Like how?
I think, to draw a few parallels, golf is a game of 18 holes, and you probably need about 72 different strokes to get there.
Absolutely.
So you can't hit one massive shot and actually complete it in one go. So it's a process of doing multiple things right, one after another after another. So I think it's a process. So that's a big parallel that you can't really achieve stardom in a day.
Sure.
You have to do a lot of things well, and you have to do it sequentially. Second, it also teaches you that when you make mistakes, you can actually catch up on the next hole or the next shot. You can hit a better one.
Absolutely.
Similarly, if you hit a massive stroke and you actually do a great job on one hole, doesn't mean the next one's going to happen exactly the same.
Absolutely.
So it actually tells
Great
you
life lessons as well, isn't it?
Yes, it tells you to be patient, to be focused, and take it step by step.
Is that your life mantra as well?
The only difference is life doesn't happen step by step. You got to do a lot of things, simultaneously. So I think multitasking is one thing that I think golf doesn't teach me.
Really?
Yes. So that's probably the only thing. But otherwise, I think it's a great lesson in life.
What next for you at Prime Focus now? You've just come on board as the group COO. What are your visions for Prime Focus? What next?
See, as we see it, we talked about the fact how fast and how dynamic, the whole media industry has been. And it continues to evolve very, very rapidly. We have an organization which is all over the globe already. We've got offices in the US, in Canada, UK, India. We've got a visual effects 3D business. We've got a technologies business.
Sure.
We are growing. We have been there for 16 years, but if you ask me, the current business that we're running is fundamentally there for 3-4 years.
Sure.
So we're still a startup from that perspective. Massive growth opportunities. At the same time, we have to build an organization which can manage that growth, and more than that, manage the risks that come along with that growth. So my opportunity here is to make sure that we are not only having growth, but measured growth is we are taking the risk-adjusted approach to growth on a global perspective. So lots to do.
All right. On that note, thank you so much, Vikas, for joining me on TeeTime. It was indeed a pleasure.
So nice to meet you.
Have
Thank
you
you
on
very
the show.
much. Thank you.
So that's a wrap from me, Shrethi Narula, and Vikas Rathee, the COO of Prime Focus. I will see you next week again with another interesting guest from a different sector altogether. Until then, as cliched as I may always sound, enjoy the flight of a good drive. See you next week.